Good evening and welcome to the 7 o'clock English news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. Nearly 2 million people are vaccinated against COVID-19 in the Sultanate. Tunisia's president fires the country's prime minister and froze parliament's activities after violent demonstrations over the country's pandemic and economic situation. And Lebanese lawmakers pick Najib Mikati as a new prime minister. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. More than 1.9 million people were vaccinated with COVID-19 vaccines in the Sultanate until Sunday, July 25th, 2021, with a rate of 53% of the total targeted group. The total of those vaccinated with the first dose reached more than 1.58 million people at 45%, while the total of those vaccinated with 2 doses reached 338,523 people at 10%. The governorates of Muscat recorded the highest vaccination rate with a total of 618,264 people vaccinated, or 55% of the total targeted, followed by North Al-Batna Governorate with 234,808 people, or 39%, followed by the South Al-Batna Governorate with 153,277 people with a rate of up to 45%. The Ministry of Health reported today 572 new cases and 18 deaths over the past 24 hours. The total number of cases registered in the Sultanate has now reached 294,526, including 3,771 deaths. 53 patients were admitted to hospitals across the country in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of inpatients to 723, including 292 in intensive care units. The total number of recoveries is 276,483, while the recovery rate is 93.9%. A new group of qualified national cadres in medical and paramedical specialties joined the Royal Oman Police, ROP, in continuation of the ROP plans to recruit and absorb national cadres from the outputs of medical specialties in higher education institutions in coordination with other relevant authorities. More details in the following report.
A new batch of national crews in medicine and medical assistance had joined the Royal Oman Police as a part of its plan to recruit every graduate of medical disciplines from various universities and colleges of higher education in the Sultanate. This step contributes to the ROP headquarters' core objective of running and achieving the highest standards of medical services. Aside from that, to enhance the medical field in ROP and to provide a progressive workflow in policing operations.
We are so glad today to receive and welcome the new national cadres of medicine crew to be deployed in every department of Royal Oman Police medicine departments. These new recruits had passed all the evaluation procedures and they will support by joining their colleagues in ROP medical services. In this context, they will be dispatched to work in every geographical formations health centers of ROP in the Sultanate.
The new crew of medicine has expressed their sincere happiness to serve their country by joining the ROP.
I am glad to serve my country by joining the Royal Oman Police. I graduated from the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland as a general practitioner, and I also studied surgery and prenatalology, and I will be supportive to the medical services.
At the beginning, I want to congratulate my colleagues and myself to be a part of Royal Oman Police, and it really made us proud to serve our country. I graduated from Sultan Qaboos University Faculty of Medicine and Health Science as a general practitioner and surgeon.
The medicine recruits had gone through several evaluation processes of level assessment, as well as medical exams before being enrolled in the ROP's Directorate General of Medical Service, in accordance with the strategic plan of Omanization. Furthermore, the recent quantum leap growth of ROP formations in every geographical command will be considered as a great opportunity for those medical crew to be deployed in every ROP new facility. These new national cadres include general practitioners, nurses, radiology technicians, as well as laboratory technicians. They will offer the medical treatment for the ROP staff and their families by contributing their skills and knowledge to the medical service. This is First Lieutenant Saeed bin Salim Nimhouzi, Governorate of Muscat.
In order to assess the impacts of the trough of low pressure in the Wilaya of Sor, especially projects related to the sectors of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Water Resources, the most important decision was made on the protection of dam. His Excellency Engineer Ali bin Mohammed Al-Azri, Under Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Water Resources, and His Excellency Sheikh Saqar bin Sultan Al-Shkeli, Wali of Sor, Deputy Governor of South Sharqiya, made a field visit to the Wilaya to assess the damages at the citizens' farms and villages over there. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion said that in cooperation with the competent authorities, the ministry announces the obligation of some existing commercial facilities to provide electronic payment service to consumers in an effort to achieve digital transformation in the Sultanate and integrate efforts between government institutions in achieving the goal of the comprehensive digital society in line with Oman Vision 2040. The decision includes in the first stage all activities in industrial areas, complexes, commercial centers and gift markets, food sales activities, gold and silver sales, restaurants and cafes, fruits and vegetables and electronics and building material sales. Oman Chamber for Commerce and Industry, OCCI, launched a marketing outlets initiative in the Governorate of Al-Lahira. The initiative targets a number of projects and entrepreneurs in the Governorate. The Chamber, through this initiative, aims to develop small and medium-sized enterprises and set up an appropriate platform for these enterprises to market their products. Manafith initiative of OCCI is meant for supporting SMEs, entrepreneurs and businessmen in the governorates. OCCI called upon owners of commercial centers in the governorate to open marketing outlets for entrepreneurs in their centers to sell their products and thus minimize the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on these enterprises. To the Kamba News Bulletin, a research project has been undertaken to shed light on the Omani folk tales and legends in Al-Dakhiliya governorates. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate Oman Television. On the international scene, Tunisia's president fired the country's prime minister and froze parliament's activities after violent demonstrations over the country's pandemic and economic situation. President Qais Said also lifted the immunity of all parliament members and said he would name a new prime minister in the coming hours to bring calm in the country. He used special constitutional measures, allowing him to assume executive power and freeze parliament over an unspecified period of time until normal institutional workings can be restored. Thousands of people defied virus restrictions and scorching heat to demonstrate yesterday in the capital of Tunis and other cities. The protests were called on the 64th anniversary of Tunisia's independence by a new group called the July 25th Movement. Lebanese businessman and former Prime Minister Najib Mikati secured enough votes in parliamentary consultations today to be designated the head of the government again after the support of major parties. His designation as premier came after a veteran politician, Saad al-Hariri, abandoned attempts at forming a cabinet earlier this month after 9 months of deadlock with President Michel Aoun. The issues that obstructed Hariri's attempts at cabinet formation, including Aoun's demand for effective veto power in government, will probably continue to complicate the task. The political squabbling has left Lebanon without effective government as the country has sunk deeper into economic and financial crisis. Prime Minister Hassan Diab, whose cabinet resigned in August following a Beirut port explosion, has continued in a caretaker capacity until the new government is formed. The United Nations warned today that Afghanistan could see the highest number of civilian deaths in more than a decade if the Taliban offensive across the country are not halted. Violence has surged since early May when insurgents cranked up operations. It will coincide with the final withdrawal of US-led foreign forces. During the first half of 2021, some 1,659 civilians were killed and another 3,254 wounded. The fighting continued across Afghanistan, with the Pakistan military saying today that at least 46 members of Afghan security forces had fled across the border into Pakistan to seek shelter. Afghan security forces spokesman Ajmal Omar Shinwari said about 400 people have been taken out of their houses in Spin Boldak by Taliban in recent days and that 100 of them had been killed. Nearly 200 nations started online negotiations today to validate a UN science report that will anchor autumn summits charged with preventing climate catastrophe on a planetary scale. World Meteorological Organization head Petteri Talos told some 700 delegates by Zoom that the report is going to finalize is very important worldwide. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, assessment is critical for the success of the Glasgow Climate Conference in November. Record-smashing heat waves, floods and droughts across 3 continents in recent weeks, all amplified by global warming, have added pressure for decisive action. A key G20 summit with climate on the agenda is slotted for the late October. And to preserve the Omani socio-cultural heritage, a research project has been undertaken shedding light on the Omani folk tales and legends associated with places in Al-Dakhiliya, a governorate. More details in the following report.
Various historical and archaeological sites in the Sultanate have been linked to several folk tales and legends. To preserve this social and cultural heritage, the project Folk Tales and Legends Associated with Places in the Governorate of Al-Dakhiliya came in line with the Omani tourism strategy to collect and document the Omani tales and legends associated with certain places in the wilayas of Al-Dakhiliya Governorate.
We focus on this project about the tails and legends that are related to places. This project, it has more than an approach, we can say. I mean, from economic side, we can say this is enhance the economy in the future after we use this data to enhance the tourism in Oman. Also, the documentation, which we call the oral history. Some of the information, some of the history, tales and legends, stories are disappeared with the people who are memorize these stories. So we can say we have to document the oral history and some unwritten resources.
The project focuses on 21 sites in a Dakhliya governorate associated with folk tales and legends, particularly 2 in the wilaya of Bidbid, 1 in the wilaya of Sama'il, 3 in the wilaya of Izki, 4 in the wilaya of Nizwa, 2 in the wilaya of Adam, 1 in the wilaya of Manah, 4 in the wilaya of Al-Hamra, and 4 in the wilaya of Bahla.
We cannot cover all the tales and legends in Oman or even in Dakhliya governorate. We need more time, and we hope in the future we can extend this project, and also we can take it from other approaches. We choose actually around 22 tales and legends, which are based on some criteria that we have been choosing according to the committee. These criteria, which is called I can say the infrastructure of these places, and also the access, and also it's easy to document these tales and legends.
This comprehensive project comes within the Sultanate's efforts towards including this heritage in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List and maintaining the authenticity of such social and cultural heritage to enrich the tourism experience of visitors to the country. Shedding light on the prominent archaeological sites, particularly those that are attached to folk tales, myths and legends, is essential to serve the national sustainable development. صالح بخلفان الرحبي, ولاية of Nizwa, الداخلية, Governorate.
You're watching the Sultan of Oman television. Before we enter tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Nearly 2 million people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 in the Sultanate. Tunisia's president fires the country's prime minister and froze parliament's activities after violent demonstrations over the country's pandemic and economic situation. And the Lebanese lawmakers picked Najib Mikati as new prime minister. And with that, we'll come to the end of tonight's news bulletin from overseas newsroom and the studios. Stay safe. Good night.